Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Six. Would you grab your Bible? Let's go together to Exodus chapter 3. We want to see how God is at work in the people of Israel. This promise to prosper them and bless them, and yet some 400 years of slavery and difficulty. Exodus 3. Let's take a look at it. Come on with me. You know, understanding and fulfilling God's promise in our lives is sometimes challenging. Think about Moses, who was an Israelite. He was born amongst the people who were enslaved, but yet he had a very privileged life. You see, the Pharaoh of Egypt had wanted all the baby boys of the Israelites killed. So they were getting too numerous, and it was really kind of a problem for this oppressive regime, this dictator of Egypt. So when all this awful slaughter is taking place, Moses' mom had a thought, and she placed him in a little basket and floated him down the river to where Pharaoh's daughter would often go to wash clothes or bathe or so forth. And Pharaoh's daughter saw this little baby. She knew he was a Hebrew. She knew he was Jewish, but she just couldn't bring herself to allow him to be put to death. And so she took Moses in and raised Moses as her own. A Jewish man raised among the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, if you will. Well, as he grew up and he got older, he had this idea that, maybe he was supposed to be used by God to free the people. He was in a position of power, a position of influence, no doubt. And so it was his mind that he would go out and kill an Egyptian and just start the revolution. Didn't work out so well for him. He ended up fleeing as a fugitive, an accused murderer, guilty of murder. He spent the next 40 years wandering in the desert, tending sheep, living as a nomad, living as a fugitive from the law. He was heartbroken. So here's what Exodus 3 records. That Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, priest of Midian. And he left the flock to the far side of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. Now, a little context here. In the Hebrew language, the word Horeb means desolation. It means the middle of nowhere, desert. It was later to be called the mountain of God because of what happened here. But when Moses encountered it, here he is, a fugitive, wandering and desperate and lonely and heart-stricken. It was just the middle of nowhere. But there, verse 2, there the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Now Moses saw the bush was on fire, but it did not burn up. So Moses thought, well, I'll go over and see this strange sight, why the bush doesn't burn up. And when the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses, he cried. And Moses said, here I am. You see, for Moses, this wasn't a good time in his life, and he wasn't expecting any particular miracle. For all we know, he wasn't even praying. He was just out doing what he did every day long, all day long, every day, tending sheep, wandering 40 years as a fugitive. And out of curiosity, he saw a bush, and it wasn't burning up. That was kind of odd. And when he got there, God began to speak. Verse 5, do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you were standing is holy ground. And then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And at this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. Friends, I think it's really important, is lifting off the page at me, that God in his first address to Moses, his first encounter, he's saying, I am the God of your father, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. These men we've been reading about all week. God made a covenant with them, a promise. I'm going to make your nation incredibly prosperous, your family prosperous. And here they are 400 years later, enslaved. And God says, I haven't forgotten my promise. Here I am. Verse 7. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I've heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I've come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites and Hittites and Amorites and Perizzites and Hivites and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me. I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. 400 years. God made the promise even longer before with Abraham. But he told him, hey, your people are going to suffer 400 years in slavery. 400 years, all their oppression, all their pain, all their sorrow. And now God hears. And he sends Moses to deliver them, to bring them, move them through the crisis, through correction, to a cure. Friends, as this video ends, this Friday ends here on the Daily Six, can you give God 6 more minutes and contemplate, pray about, how long are you willing to trust the Lord with your circumstance? Because he sees you, he is concerned, but he's working a process, working a path, moving us towards that ultimate cure. Give God 6 more minutes. Give him thanks, give him praise, and trust him. We'll see you Monday for more right here on the Daily Six.